Don't need to spend 50 hours using the lighter now so he doesn't kill himself constantly. Well, so how about I spend another 29 hours to make my life even easier then, huh? And that is exactly what I did. While some people spend their first hours in Minecraft building fancy mega bases, I'm the complete opposite. I'm starting off by building everything I'll actually need for the future, starting with the hoglin farm. It is that I will build a hoglin farm because I need food, and this is not food. I am not a rabbit. The main reason I'm building this farm is simple. I've been living off a vegan diet from these 2 little carrot fields. Sure, it might be economically better or whatever, but let's be real. When it comes to efficient food, carrots just ain't it, man. So to get this farm up and running, I needed 192 blocks, 8 slabs, 5 dirt blocks, 12 chests, 10 hoppers, 20 trapdoors, 4 fences, 5 barbed fungus, 36 torches, 1 lava bucket, and yeah, a handful of temporary blocks. I already had all the materials I needed for the farm sitting in my chests, except for the warped fungus. So I had to hop into the nether real quick and grab those. Now that I had all the materials gathered, I headed into the nether and up onto the roof. That's where the farm is going to be built. But I can't just place it anywhere. For the farm to actually work, it has to be built above a crimson forest biome, since that's the only place where hoglins spawn naturally. That's also the reason they can spawn up here in the first place. As for how the whole farm works and how I turn them into tasty cooked pork chops, I'll explain that step by step as I build it. For the actual build, I started by creating a 13 by 13 platform placed 4 blocks above the bedrock. Then I added 5 warped fungi with trapdoors on top, positioned around the corners and edges of the platform. Those basically lure the hoglins to walking right where you want them, straight into the lava. Once that was set up, I built the mob relocation and processing chamber, let's keep it user-friendly, along with the collection system underneath to gather all the delicious loot. Now listen, I am no farm expert, but apparently you also need to place some slabs behind the chamber so the hoglins think they can walk across, straight into the room. I don't really know why it works like that, but it does and I'm not questioning it. Then I lit up the platform with torches. Again, no clue why, but it's a part of the process, so whatever. And finally, I built an AFK platform all the way up at build limit, which is necessary to make sure hoglins actually spawn and the whole farm does its thing. So now that food is finally secured and I don't have to worry about that anymore, it's time to move on to what's arguably the most important farm for any hardcore player, a raid farm. For endless emeralds and more importantly, totems of undying. So for this farm I need all the materials you see on the screen right now. Yeah, I'm not reading them all out again like before. And look, I know there are way more efficient raid farms out there, but for now this one gets the job done and I'll probably build a better one later down the line anyway. So yeah, for this farm I had to build it right in the middle of an ocean with no land or islands within an 8-chunk radius around me. That way the pillagers can only spawn on the platform built above, just like you see here. Also, I built this farm right next to an actual outpost on the coast, so getting my hands on ominous bottles is no problem at all. But I'll get into that part a bit later. The reason this farm works, well at least I think, is because the pillagers try to pathfind toward the villager. So they all end up walking straight into the hole and dropping down with just 1 HP left, making them super easy to one-hit. The Ravagers though are too big to fit through the hole, so they just end up burning in the lava all by themselves. Natural selection, I guess. Totem. This, ladies and gentlemen, is my first totem ever obtained in Minecraft. Not through actually completing a raid, but through a farm, and I am proud of it. So yeah, I ended up filling a full shulker box with totems. And like I mentioned earlier when talking about ominous bottles, right after finishing the raid farm, I went ahead and built an ominous bottle farm too. It actually got recommended while I was watching the tutorial for the raid farm, since you really do need a bunch of ominous bottles to even get the raid farm running properly. I must admit, that didn't even cross my mind. We just need some ominous bottles I can obtain either in trial chambers? Hell nah. Gonna do trial chamber just for that. For killing a pillager, go outpost, kill pillager. I will build this so we can build an ominous bottle farm, which we will do. So then following the rolling to this ominous bottle farm, I ended up with another portal-based farm build. Definitely not the one shown in the preview, but honestly I didn't really care. I mean, if it works, right? So I went ahead and started building it. First by collecting all of the materials, I can't speak. So I went ahead and started building it. What the hell? So we went ahead and started building it, first by collecting all of the materials you see listed here. Yeah, I list them like that, it's just way easier to edit, I'll be honest. So for all the materials I already had most of it sitting in my chests, so I only had to grab a few more obsidian blocks. For that I quickly headed into the end. After I collected the obsidian, I headed over to the outpost to kick off the whole process. First I had to break down the outpost itself, as shown before. After that I started placing the portals at the four corners lined up evenly with the center. Until I realized I didn't have enough space behind them, so I had to flatten out the surrounding area a little bit first. One might think I was done flattening out the area, but more on that later. Anyway, I continued by surrounding the portals with stone walls, so the builders wouldn't be able to shoot at the iron golems from that distance. The idea is that they need to pathfind toward the portals, which will then teleport them straight to their demise. After the stone walls were set up, I placed the ice blocks in the correct spots and then broke them manually to create the water, which keeps the iron golem centered and helps lure the pillagers toward them. So after figuring out which of the four portals would actually drop the loot after the pillagers get burned in the chamber I built in the nether, where all the portals lead, I went on to build the collection system underneath it. With that done, the only thing left was setting up the AFK platform above everything, and just like that, the farm was technically finished. Now when I say technically, I mean that even though the farm was built and it worked, it wasn't fully optimized, and the reason for that is right here. Like I mentioned earlier, one might have thought I was done with flattening the area, but I actually wasn't. Even though I already had plenty of ominous bottles, I decided to spend around 3 hours getting another beacon, setting it up and manually flattening out the surrounding area. Therefore not all of the pillagers spawn on the mountain, but on the ground. With the ominous bottle farm complete, I now wanted to build a stone farm, just to have infinite stone for future projects. But when I searched on YouTube, I mostly only found simple stone farm designs where you use a silk touch pickaxe to AFK mine. The problem with those, eventually the pickaxe would break. So I kept searching for the design that also supplies XP, so the pickaxe enchanted with mending would constantly repair itself while mining. I almost gave up, until I finally found this video with only 6k views that completely saved my day. Now all I had to do was connect the stone farm to this mending module, and I'd basically have an infinite pickaxe setup. I just needed to mine a bit of obsidian for the build, around 2100 pieces. Yeah, so after realizing how insane that number actually is, I decided I had no choice but to build an obsidian farm first. Now this obsidian farm isn't going to be the best one out there, because the absolute best farms use a wither to automatically destroy the obsidian for you. But yeah, I'm definitely not about to spawn a wither just for that. So instead I decided to build a simpler version. One that lets me mine the obsidian on the end spawn platform, and then automatically regenerates it every time something enters the end portal. Now let's get into it how that works. So in order for the farm to work, I first needed a way to make the platform regenerate itself every time I destroyed it. The idea was that something had to enter the end portal at regular intervals, and my simple solution for that was using a snow golem. I placed a snow golem underneath the portal inside the boat and had him constantly throw snowballs at an entity positioned above the portal. The snowballs would then pass through the portal into the end, triggering the platform to regenerate. But to make sure the setup keeps working even when I'm in the end, I also needed to build a chunk loader. Otherwise, the snow golem would just stop throwing snowballs the moment I leave his chunk. And if you're curious about what a chunk loader is, go look it up yourself. For this build, all you need to know is that it keeps the chunks loaded, and that's exactly what I needed. The only thing left now was to position myself properly to keep breaking the obsidian and set up some hoppers and chests to collect everything I mined. And with that, the farm was complete. I could now farm obsidian without using all of my brain's capacity and just leave it running AFK. After collecting all the obsidian I needed, it was finally time to start building the mending module that would connect to my stone farm. If you think about it, it's honestly insane that I decided to link such a massive setup to just a simple little stone farm, but that's exactly what I wanted. And well, did. Before we move on to talk about the stone farm itself, let's first break down how the mending module works. As you can see, I had to build this massive cube and light up all the nether portals, and the only reason for that is to trigger as many zombified piglin spawns as possible. The bigger the portal setup, the more piglin spawn, simple as that. Now these creatures are absolutely key for this whole farm to work. You see, this snow golem trapped inside his little cage is constantly throwing snowballs at a captured name-tag zombified piglin. This attack angers all the newly spawned piglins, and as they charge at the snow golem they fall down a hole and die from fall damage. Because they were angry when they died, they drop XP, which is exactly what we need. If they weren't mad, they wouldn't drop any XP at all. Also, the snowballs thrown by the golem don't actually deal damage, so the piglin getting pelted will stay alive forever, constantly betraying his own kind out of his endless suffering. So now, the stone farm that's connected to the mending module is actually a super simple build. Basically, lava flows from the top layer, and when it touches the water, it instantly turns to stone. The trick with this setup is that the water flows into the middle, and when the lava touches it, the water doesn't disappear. It just stays on the edges ready to flow back in once the stone gets mined. These pistons pushing me from left to right help speed up the whole process and make it way more efficient, especially when combined with a haste 2 beacon. With the stone farm complete, which can also be used as a cobblestone farm if our pickaxe isn't enchanted with silk touch, we technically ended up getting 3 farms in one: XP, stone and cobblestone. So was it worth it? Yeah, I'd say it definitely was. But now, moving on to the last important farm for me, because what resource do you also constantly need when playing around with redstone? Correct, it's wood. You need it for sticks, for crafting pistons, for chests in general, and for hoppers, which also need chests. And why waste time manually chopping wood when you can just build this huge thing right here and FK it? Yeah, why is it that massive though? If you don't know yet, don't worry, let me explain this whole big project right now. So I'd been looking around on YouTube for a wood farm design, but I couldn't really find one that would just let me AFK the whole thing without needing to constantly replenish something. And in this case, that something would be bone meal. But then I remembered in one of my old hardcore worlds, which I technically still have but kinda lost the vibe with, I had actually built this farm before. So I went back to YouTube and looked it up again. But there wasn't really a tutorial for the full massive version I had in mind, just for the 3 TNT part of it, so I decided to try out the mod Lightmatica for the first time and started playing around with schematics. Basically, to explain it shortly, Lightmatica lets you scan a build and paste a blueprint of it into your world, where you can move it, rotate it, replace blocks and more. It took me years to figure out everything, and honestly I still don't understand all of it, but somehow I managed to get the blueprint set up more or less the way I wanted. Then I scanned the whole farm from a separate world that I had downloaded from the YouTube video itself and started building it using the schematic. The huge advantage with Lightmatica is that you can enable a tool that lets you place blocks mid-air exactly where they need to go, without needing to connect them to anything, which just speeds up the whole process insanely. Also, fun fact, when I built this farm in my old hardcore world, I couldn't really use schematics properly because I was playing on Badland client. And it made the whole world super laggy. Plus, the schematic tool there didn't really work nearly as well as it does right now. But now, since I manage all my mods myself with multi-MC, everything runs flawlessly and I can just pick exactly the mods I want without all the extra junk. So for this design, ladies and gentlemen, I needed a lot of materials. I had to take 6 full shulker boxes with me, yeah, it was that serious. I'll just show you the material list on screen, and quick note, obviously I replaced some of the blocks, like come on, why would I use waxed copper blocks when I could just use any other solid block instead? But yeah, the list was really long and it honestly took me 3 to 4 hours just to gather all the items I needed to finally start the build. So this farm right here is basically a really long bone meal generator, built twice actually, and that's necessary to power the tree farm. Because ladies and gentlemen, this tree farm uses about 1 full double chest of bone meal per hour, if I remember correctly. So yeah, we definitely need this massive bone meal generator to keep up with this. Let me try to explain it real quick. The generator works by creating quick stone which then gets converted into moss. That moss gets hit with bone meal again to spread. Then pistons push it at regular intervals, breaking the moss blocks. And the resulting moss items get picked up by hoppers and composted back into bone meal. And yes, the farm even helps generate its own bone meal, which is kind of wild. So yeah, usually, ladies and gentlemen, this farm, just basically explain it real quick, because this is the tree part of it. Here land the items from the bone meal generator as shown in the replay review. Or the clip you saw before, whatever. They land inside of this, with the composters get converted into bone meal, and then lead and make their way towards this piston, this dispenser, which powers all of the moss here, and eventually generates a tree. Right, there's also another piston, I think it's this one, which has bone meal, and I don't even get it, to be honest. I just built it. It was really complicated, but yeah, it's bone meal supply, lands right here, tree grows, it gets detected by that thing, and then TNT falls down. And if you're curious on how that thing works, how it transports that signal on the top of the observer, so the TNT duper drops the TNT down, I have no idea how that thing works. I mean, just look at that. It's way too complicated for me to comprehend. I'ma be honest. I'ma be really honest. It was also really complicated build. And yeah, that's all about the rest to it. Just real quick, this is a Jamrana build here, obviously. I mean, come on, that's a Jamrana build. For the reason to be able to navigate through the entire build the way I want to. So yeah, I think it's a funny Jamrana to have a survival build in it. So with this farm complete, I actually had to start working on producing the video, because my file storage was nearly full. Originally I had planned to include even more farms and future projects in this video. But yeah, with my storage space running out, those plans had to be pushed to the next one. I really wanted to include one more build, something that would have changed my world in a systematic way. Just imagine being able to turn off all hostile mobs in your world with a single contraption. Well, expect these annoying creatures. But hey, they'll have to wait for the next episode. If you enjoyed this video so far, make sure to stick around, because what's coming next is going to change everything in my world. Like, nothing special, guys. Like, I'm not them. Chill out, please. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.